Welcome back to the Real Estate Huddle, episode 95. And today we're going to talk about why homes are lasting longer on the market and taking longer to sell. And so we're going to have a very real conversation. We talk to our sellers every week that are on the market. We hear what they're saying, what their thoughts are and expectations, and we also hear what, buyers are saying on the other end. And so we get to hear both sides, and we're going to share it with you today. And there's a few reasons why homes are lasting a little longer, and it may not be exactly what you're thinking. So let's start out with number one.
Yeah, I think high inventory is definitely a major factor in that. Mm-hmm. We've seen an increase from, let's say, COVID times when there was 1,200 homes on the market up to we have 13,000 homes on the market right now. So we talk about 12,000 homes is balanced in our market. So that means you got one buyer, one seller. So we've just crossed that threshold now where we actually probably have a few more homes, a few more sellers than we do buyers. So with that, we've seen that attached homes have gone down about 5% year over year. So that's definitely where a lot of the inventory lies right now. We've seen a big increase in that segment of the market. So it's a good thing if you want a lot of options, you want to be able to see more homes. I also think that leads to an increase in inventory because as buyers have so many choices, they're less pressured, less motivated to just jump on a home. They're taking more time. It causes more days on market. So we've just kind of seen that increase in inventory go up.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. In perspective, 3 years ago, we were at 1,200 homes on the market, and now we're at 13.2. So, you've got more than a tenfold increase in inventory in the 7-county metro area for people to choose from. So that makes a big difference. So it used to be you were writing offers in the driveway as like 12 other showings were happening. And now it's, hey, why don't you think about it tonight and we'll talk in the morning type deal. So you've got a little bit more time.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's the difference between desperation and how about the next one?
Yep.
That's the attitude for buyers.
Yeah, we used to say, don't sleep on it because you might not sleep in it for the houses. Now there's a lot of people that are they're going to sleep on it and sleep on it the next night and sleep on it the next night before they put in an offer. So
we got to just go over that one more time. I'm going to get that in a quote on it.
Oh, did I say it wrong?
No.
Okay.
Don't sleep on it because you won't sleep in it?
Yeah.
Okay. I like that.
Well, we've talked about this in previous. The buyer's remorse people feel from those days when balance was completely shifted. They bought something they weren't necessarily in love for.
Yeah, 80% of the people aren't happy with their home purchase because there was limited supply. They were pressured to hurry up and make a decision, and they could only take, had limited options.
And they waive their inspection and their appraisal most of the
We say
time.
that all the time. That wasn't really a great time for anyone.
Yeah.
So with balanced market of 12,000, it brings kind of the market back into normalcy. So in terms of days on the market, up, check my math, guys, if you've got better notes, but we're up from about 45 days a year ago on average to about 55 now. That's higher for attached units, condos, and townhomes. That's more on the high end. So that's about a 20% increase. Now, I think that's mostly representative of the market being more balanced. But if you were thinking about selling last year and you're selling now and you're waiting an extra, 15, 20 days, you feel it.
Yeah, definitely.
So another thing that's newer is just markets that sit on the market, stale listings, so to speak. Mm-hmm. That's up. About a third of all listings end up reaching that. So I don't know that we've done it, but I've certainly seen it with buying clients. Listings that are pulled, they sit for a month, they come back. We did do that some over the holidays maybe, but that's something we haven't seen in a while. And it's representative of a lot more inventory on the market.
Yeah, definitely. Awesome. Yeah. And so, I think nobody's really seen a normal market, right? A balanced market for a long, long time. We went from Great Recession to inventory crisis for 10 years. And now all of a sudden we're in this balanced market. And after the pandemic, right? The complete crisis and then this. And so it's all about perspective, and our country has been through many balanced markets and our market has. But when you don't know what normal is, it's tough. And so I think that the next thing to consider is just where buyers are at. Like they're kind of pinched right now.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of buyer hesitation is the other thing, especially with the high mortgage rates right now. Mortgage rates hovering near 6 to 7% are limiting the affordability, which is also causing the buyers to pause and weigh out their options more carefully. So I think they're kind of thinking like, hey, if I'm going to be paying that much, I'm going to find a house that I really like, especially since there are a lot of options out there. And then there's also this lock-in phenomenon that we have going on, which is keeping existing homeowners from selling because their current rates are so good or lower, right? So this reduces available supply and slows down the market turnover quite a bit.
Definitely.
And markets, they follow expectations. So if we look at the 30-year average for mortgage rates, it's 6.85, which is right around where we are now. So it's not that we have astronomically high rates, but when you say, hey, 2 or 3 years ago, the rates were 2% and now they're 7%, that kind of grass is greener effect, I think, is prominent in people's minds.
Yeah, it's always that anchor point, right? So if you hear one number, you kind of get set on that and you're waiting for that to come back, and that might be a pipe dream.
So what does that look like on a deal, right? From a buyer's perspective?
Buyer's perspective, the great thing that buyers have a lot of negotiating power in the deal right now. So you got homes that have been on the market for 2 months. On average, you're seeing most homes that sell, they take a 1% price reduction within the first 30 days, another 1% price reduction in the next 30 days, and then the offer that they typically go under contract for is for another 2% under that listing price. So you're looking at about a 4% off the top, off of the initial listing price on average in the market. So you couple that with people getting, 60 some percent of the deals are getting concessions. So you're getting rate buy downs for buyers. Some people are buying down the rate permanently, or they're doing a 2-1 or a 3-2-1 buy down. So your interest rate drops down by 3% or 2% or 1% based on what year you're on. The other thing is if you have inspection items that come up on the home, you actually have negotiating power in the deal to do something with. So, because when you had multiple offers on the table, your negotiating power was kind of limited when it came to inspection. Because, well, if you want them to do a $5,000 repair, they could just take an offer for $2,000 less and move on. And it was easy to kind of go past that. So now you're starting to see HVAC and roofs. You're starting to see some of the bigger ticket items, or I've even seen credits for windows because they're cracked or damaged or gaskets are damaged, where 3 years ago they just said, yeah, take it or leave it. So
Yeah, definitely. Well, and I think it's more of a kind of an attitude thing for buyers too, right? Because they were just tired of having the lower hand on the negotiations for years, like 10 years in a row. And then all of a sudden they're like, okay, this is our time. Finally, we get to go have a deal now, and we get to have some fun.
Well, part of this fatigue, like the lock-in, at some point, I think what we're starting to see with so much inventory is at some point, I kind of need to move, or I certainly want to move.
Yeah.
So they're
That somebody wants to move right now.
It could be.
and eventually that's coming around with buyers. I think it's just coming a little slower, right? Because the payment, first-time home buyer, the difference, even at a entry-level price, that difference between 6.5% and 3.5%, that's several $100 a month.
Yeah.
Anyway, so it's real, but I think, we joke about this all the time. I'm the oldest guy at the table, right? Right, my first mortgage was 8%.
Yep, still true. Still true.
Still true.
let's check that. Okay. That's not a joke. We actually know it.
Jamie, pull it up.
I'm missing my point. 8% was the rate. Just what it was. We get used to it. We got used to it again at 6, and then we got used to it again at 3, and now the next generation of buyers will get used to it in the 6s.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely reset reality, and that perception is huge. So I think also seasonality is a big deal, more than people realize from a negotiation standpoint, that, typically in our market, February through April account for 75% of our annual appreciation almost every year. And so that's the hottest time to be on the market. Usually July, August is a little bit slower, and the holidays are a little bit slower, right? Fall's okay, late summer is okay, typically. And this year, we had kind of an uncharacteristically slow start of the year. First quarter was slow. We didn't have as much going on because rates were in the 7+ range, and we were, had a lot of affordability issues at that time. And we had just come off of a presidential election race, and there was a lot of uncertainty with foreign affairs, with all kinds of stuff. I think there's just a lot of uncertainty in the market. That's the biggest way to explain it. And so now we're in the second half of the year now, and it's almost like that boomerang effect is starting to happen a little bit, where people are starting to wake up. If it doesn't happen in the first year, usually it boomerangs back to the second year when those anomalies occur. And I think this is one of those years where that's starting to happen. We're starting to see some people come out of the woodworks and start to buy a little bit more, which has been healthy to kind of level off our inventory a little bit. So.
And a little cliche to quote Warren Buffett, but he always says, be greedy when other people are fearful. Mm-hmm. And I think there are people who are fearful right now because there's higher rates, so they're a little nervous about buying. Mm-hmm. But that's actually why it's so good right now, because while those other people are fearful about high rates, you can go in and get a good price on a home.
Totally.
If you have a good realtor, they can negotiate for you for a rate buy down, so you never pay those higher rates. Mm-hmm. It can be a 2-to-1 buy down where the seller pays for your refinance to lock in at lower rates, so you never pay those higher rates. As Brock was saying, you can win negotiations, get concessions, get repairs. You have a plethora of options right now. You have so many different homes to look at. So there's going to be something that you'll like that fits what you're looking for. So I think before other people catch on, while some people are still a little shy because of the rates, now's the time if you're a buyer to take advantage and get a big win.
Yeah,
we've seen a lot of buyers sitting on the sidelines. I know fourth quarter of last year, rates dropped. They had a 5 in front of them for it was a 10-day period. And I think we'd lost 20% of the inventory on the market in those 10 days because all the people that are sitting on the fence got the rates that they wanted and they jumped on it. Mm-hmm. And so you're going to be back into a competing market. Mm-hmm. You're going to be, having to offer a higher price. You're not going to get your concessions in a multiple offer situation. So you're losing a lot of your negotiation power by waiting for rates to drop down, where you can marry the house and date the interest rate.
That's what I was looking for. I was going to look at Jacksonville. You stole his thunder.
That's exactly it.
Absolutely that. So I think it's a great time for buyers. And I hear people say oh, well, once rates hit the 5s, I'm going to buy. And I'm like, well, rates might be in the 5s then, but what do you care more about? The rate that you have or your monthly payment? Mm-hmm. Because if rates go into the 5s, we have all these people rush in from the sidelines. They're all trying to buy the same homes. It drives those prices up. And you're probably going to end up with a higher monthly payment, even if you are at that 5% rate.
Because you have a higher purchase price because you had to outcompete everybody.
I haven't said that, which is probably going to come off your lips pretty easily. It's like, great, I'll go get you a 5% rate. Then let's go buy. Because we can do that. That's the fun part of this. We're generalizing a buyer. And the buyers 3 years ago are obviously very different people. But as a buyer, you've never had this kind of opportunity. You may not have it again for a while. Mm-hmm. For us, it's very fun to have so much, input in the negotiation and get a great deal, get great concessions.
Yeah.
But let's fall in love with the house. We'll get you a lower rate. And sometime in the coming 24 months, we'll get rates in a place and you refinance.
Yep.
Yeah. I had some buyers that talk about negotiation power is we walk the price down significantly on their home plus inspection and concessions. Where they walked into the house with $160,000 worth of equity just by buying the house because of what we purchased it for versus what it appraised for. Mm-hmm. So that's unheard of. Most of the time, we're just crossing our fingers that it appraises for the purchase price, and that's we're hoping for that to be the best. But to be able to walk in there with $160,000 or a 10% equity stake in a home to buy, all you got to do is sign your papers and buy the home. You get 10%.
Yep.
So
if you saw $100,000 sitting on the ground, you wouldn't say, "Oh, I'm going to wait till rates are at 5 to pick that up." You'd probably pick it up.
Well, I think you got a great point. Anybody that's wanted to have a nice, tranquil, peaceful swimming experience, right? If you show up to a pool in a community, got all these kids splashing around, you might get kicked in the face, or you might get hit with a beach ball, or
might be a baby
splashed or something. But then the adult, the lifeguard whistles, adult swim. right? And then everybody gets out of the pool except for like a few nice, calm adults that might be like reading a book or something like that. Like that's kind of what it's like to be a buyer right now. It's adult swim time. And so if you want to get in the pool, right, and come in and have a great, pleasant, nice, calm experience, like this could be the best time to do that before everybody gets back in and the frenzy starts. And like you said, like it's all about that monthly payment. People live in the payment, which you may be able to get a much lower payment now with a 2-1 buy down, which we've talked about in other episodes, right? Temporary rate buy downs, paid for by the seller, than you might later when you can't do that anymore. So good points.
And I think there's some sellers who are, still in the past where they say, oh, well, my house should be so much more. And so we see some list prices still that are higher.
Yeah.
That may not be what they sell it for, just like you were saying, the house is selling for 96% of list price. If you're looking at homes, put that in a calculator, multiply by 0.96 and say, hey, maybe the house is worth it at that number versus the list price. So
totally.
Being bold too. I think we talked about that earlier with some of our buyers who want to come in really low. If you're the kind of person that wants to come in low and try and lowball and get that screaming deal, now's the time to do it. Because if you're doing that when everybody else is putting in regular above list price offers, they're just going to throw it in the shredder and not look at it. But now sellers are going to look at that and they're going to seriously consider it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I even set up the MLS search to go with days on the MLS to try and create a filter on there. So I look at a home that's been on the market for 180 days and I'm like, all right, what's wrong with the home? What do we got to do? What's it really worth? And those are the easy attacking points to look at. So if they're motivated to sell and if they've been on the market for 6 months, they're going to start looking at things. So
yeah,
and if they've never had a single offer in 6 months. So, but now on the flip side, selling a home, taking the advice and going through the updates and do whatever, we've had listings that have sold within the first week. So
yeah.
And we get multiple offers. So it really helps to hire a professional because it makes a big difference in your bottom line. So.
Yeah. Well, key summary, as to why homes are staying a little longer on the market, like a couple things to note, right? We're in more of a balanced market in Denver now, transition from more of a seller's market to a balanced market and slightly even pushed to a buyer's market, right? Just based on where our inventory's at. And buyers have way more selection, way more choices like we talked about. And it raises expectations for buyers. They want a deal now. And it's also, just prolonging the average sale process and making inspections a little tougher to get through for sellers as well and more fun for buyers to negotiate on. And then sellers have to, if you want to have a great experience, you've got to price your home accurately and maybe even a little below, where you want to price it. And then consider, making some concessions or being a little bit more flexible and be more patient because things are just taking a little longer to find that buyer that wants to buy your home right now. So that's really it as far as this topic goes. We're so glad that you listened to it today. If you would like to, on either side, right? If you want to figure out how can I get a great deal now and does it make sense with a monthly payment? We've got great lenders we can connect you with and we can consult with you and see if now's the right time for you to buy. So give us a call. Also, if you're on the sell side, right, and you're thinking, man, I've owned this home for a while. I know I have some equity in it. How can I get money out of it, the best way possible and have this be a smooth experience? We can set you up right for that. You can sell a home in any market. You just have to be smart and strategic. So we're here for you. Numbers down below. Please remember to subscribe and thanks for listening. And we'll see you on the next video.